Hi there, my name is Adam. I'm one of the authors of Springboard Science, and I'm here to talk to you about the ways in which Springboard Science can be used depending on the technology you're interested in using. So today we're going to look at how we can use a tablet interface and OneNote to deliver our science lessons. We're going to start off by looking at the knowledge book that the students have access to. This contains all the key information we want the students to master, and it's in a question answer format like you can see here. So as the first step in planning, as an experienced teacher, I might look across these parts to get an idea of what things I must make sure students can get. And in the context of today's section of a lesson, we're looking at the concept of magnification and focus, and we're looking at some of the structures of the light microscope. Now, to keep this video short, I'm just going to focus on that first area, that magnification and focus area. So the next step for me is to have a look at the teaching book. And when I look at the teaching book, this is the section that I see, and there's an introduction at the beginning of the guided explanation, but the part I'm most interested in is in the middle here. If I zoom that in a little bit, on the guided explanation on how to explain to the students the concept of magnification and the concept of focus and how they come together in a microscope. Now, this is a suggestion. You may want to do it differently, but it's there for you if you want to. And I'm going to follow this relatively closely, but do it in a slightly different way maybe as time evolves. We'll find out. After that, I probably want to look at the practice book and make sure I know what questions there are. And the practice book contains many questions on this area. And you can see that they talk about the structures of the microscope and different questions involving all sorts of areas. So the students have lots and lots of practice at looking at these ideas. So to work with OneNote, all I've done is I've imported the slides. I've gone insert and print out, and I've put the PowerPoint in, and it's converted into the slides. You can see the initial slides here with the learning objective, the knowledge check that's available, and then we get to this one here that says, why do we need microscopes? And this is our slide that is blank essentially, and I can write on the slide if I want to with OneNote, or I could write to the side on the blank canvas. It's however I want to do it. I'm going to choose to write on the slide. My explanation is going to start by drawing a small dot, and I'm going to say to the students that this dot represents one cell, and cells are the building blocks of life and living things. The problem is one cell is not actually this big, it's much smaller, and it is invisible to our naked eye. We can't see it without using technology. And the technology we use is called a microscope, and when we look down a microscope, we make this cell appear much bigger. And here's my cell that looks much bigger, and this cell is not a real cell. We've not made the cell bigger. We're looking at a picture, or as we call it, an image. And this image is much bigger, and the process of making the image appear bigger is called magnification. So magnification is making the cell appear bigger, and this is an image. But this image of the cell is all fuzzy. This is not my bad art. This is drawn deliberately. It is blurred. And this is a problem. When we tend to magnify things, we tend to make them become very fuzzy, very hard to see. And we need to say, and start using the terminology with the students of focus. We need to say this is out of focus. Microscopes are fortunately designed to overcome this. So they have another thing that allows them to help us, and that is they have the ability to focus images. And when we do these two things together, we magnify things and we focus, we end up with an image that is crisp and magnified. And sometimes that allows us to see some extra details. So here I have a focused image of the cell, and that is clear and crisp. And when the two things come together, this is the job of the microscope. And so that would be part of my explanation. Giving that to the students. I may pepper some questions in as I'm doing it to make sure they're paying attention. That's up to you. It then goes on to a slide that is purpose-built for Check for Understanding, and you'll see a copy of the image that is from the knowledge book. It's important when we're doing this that we use some labels, and we recommend using mini whiteboards. We can ask the students various questions, and in the teacher book you'll see questions that are proposed, but it's up to you to tailor them as you see fit. The next part of the lesson after this check moves on to going through how we use the microscope, a check for understanding about the microscope before setting students to work using the practice book to answer some questions. That's essentially how you could use OneNote to deliver Springboard's Key Stage 3 Science. You can see that it's a very flexible way of working, and we can use all the resources available to provide a kind of seamless transition between teacher explanation and student practice. Good luck.